Parental advisory. There is adult language in this podcast episode. Watch at your own discretion.
And we're really liking what we've got so far.
Definitely. Cool. So trailers are going to start to be like, how are you guys going to start promoting?
Yeah. So we're going to probably have a Facebook page up for it in the next week. And we're going to have clips we're going to start dropping, interview clips, things like that from it. And then we're going to have probably have a trailer for it in the next couple weeks. So we're really hitting the ground, hoping to actually have the first episode out within a month. So we're going to really start that process, and we're looking for, people in the area to share it, people in Michigan and Brazil to share it, and really just, as many people that can share and get their circles in and involved in it. Just building a following for this would be great. I think these are pretty important stories. This whole thing, it's a rock and a hard place. Like, it really is. Kind of the whole core of this documentary is about how there's not really a good answer. Like, there's not really, you're kind of screwed if you do, and you're screwed if you don't. There's a lot of people who, like, this disease is serious. There's a lot of people who have lost their lives. Like, this is, just incredible numbers of families and, people who have lost their lives. And this, it's about that. It's about honoring that sacrifice and honoring the people who are on the front lines every day. But it's also about telling the story of the businesses who have been, we're nearing like 20, insane amount of unemployment rates, just crazy unemployment rates. And that is terrible too. Right. And so you're in this tension of like, do we start to reopen? Do we have to and so we were just in this story, and we're not about giving you the answer. We're about just telling you those stories. And I don't know. I think it's actually about saying, this is not an easy, the whole purpose, I think, is this is not an easy answer. This is not, and I think, unfortunately, we've kind of sunken into kind of our partisan divides. And, if you're a Republican, you're supposed to think this. And if you're a Democrat, you're supposed to think that. Yeah. And I think we've kind of, sadly, I think at the beginning, a lot of people were like, hey, let's put this aside and let's see each other as humans. And I think, sadly, we're kind of going the other way again. And so, honestly, this is a attempt to kind of show our humanity and what we share in the middle of this. Yeah. Sorry, it was a longer explanation of it, but
such a powerful medium to be a part of, in which we can heavily manipulate, for better or for worse. With great power comes great responsibility, and just promoting the right messages, hopefully to the right people. There's such a thing as like, don't cast your diamonds among pigs. Don't know your audience, go to them. Don't promote this to people who are going to tear it down, tear it apart, ignore it.
Yeah.
That's a big thing, is people will straight up ignore. If you don't have their attention within a couple of seconds, it's crazy, but I applaud you.
No, it's great. You mentioned that thing. You mentioned the thing about how, like, the amount of manipulation that you can have.
Yeah.
And there's multiple interviews we've done where it's like, I could make this person sound as insane or as wonderful, and it's about, there's such a level of trust. There's such a level of responsibility. And it reminds me of really what the media does every day, and what, like, our news media, what their responsibility is like, how do you tell the truth, and beyond just like what the facts are, but what, like, being as true as you can to, like, that person, and not betraying the truth of the situation and the truth of that person. It's actually incredible responsibility, and it's hard because it's hard to kind of keep your own opinions out, but you kind of need to be true to what's being said. you know, and what the moment is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there can still be editing in there. There can still be things you take.
Yeah, no, you do edit. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not editing. It's just not manipulating.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Totally.
There's just like, yeah, and it's, yeah, but it's been awesome. I've enjoyed it, and yeah, it's definitely a cool like first kind of foray into like first try into like documentaries. So yeah, it's awesome.
When was the last time you acted? When was the last time you performed? You did plays throughout college, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about those. I don't think I saw a single one, unfortunately. I think every time.
No.
Yeah.
I kind of moved away a little bit from acting, but no. My last one was, I believe, John Adams. I played John Adams in a play called American Primitive, which is about John and Abigail Adams and their kind of relationship, and it's mostly like huge blocks of, we had to memorize full pages of letters that they had written to each other, and so yeah, it was a pretty intense like memorization process, and we were the only ones who talked, essentially. Like that was it. So it's just like letter. Yeah. And it was weird. There's like very little cues too. So it's like very much your cues are all stuff that you do. So, but it was a fun, awesome play. I loved it. I mean, I'm a political kind of obviously with documentaries, I'm kind of a political like junkie a little bit. And so it was a cool kind of last play, and I was able to be the star. And so it was a really cool, role to like go out on. I miss it though. You know, like you definitely like when you go to plays, you start to get the itch or whatever, but I don't know.
That's crazy because I remember acting with you. We were young. I was 17 when I did Oklahoma.
Was Oklahoma the only one we did together?
Yes, only play, but there were like skit. Okay, first time I remember seeing you at all, like recognizing you.
Yeah.
As a person, was on stage. You were doing either a skit themed like The Office. You remember this? Or it was The Office. Lori Hammer. It's like a skit camp.
Ooh.
And oh man, I wasn't even a part of it, but it was like you had a group of 5 or 6 people, and I think you were Jim. And
I think I was.
You would walk up to the front of the stage and talk to the camera as if it was The Office.
Dude, I like have a very vague memory of that. I like completely out of. I do, like, it's one of those things that you can remember happening, but you have no idea what any of it was.
Right.
I do remember when you pointed out, like, you're walking to the front and talking to I remember that, but that's it. I don't remember anything else.
That's the first time.
Good?
I was like,
was it good? I don't remember.
I remember being into the office at that time and just being like, oh, like,
quiet.
But I just remember you had a really good presence. I remember thinking you had a great smile. That was like one of my first memories of you, first like thoughts or observations of you.
Maybe that is what happened. See, my memory is somewhat different. Like, and maybe we met before this, but then I really remember you. But see, I'm not quite sure if it. Man, I have a bad memory. So, my memory has always been that it was like Facing the Giants, and I had just finished like screaming in the booth, and that we like talked and connected a bunch on stage afterwards.
Wow.
And you came up and you were like, "Oh, dude, you did an awesome job," and I was like, "I don't quite remember who you are, but I like." I remember that you were funny, and I was like, I don't know why he likes me, but it's cool.
Wow. That's funny.
Yeah. I think it's kind of interesting because I think there's a few people that this happened to me in skit, when we did skit. There's a few people this happened to me with, and it was a weird phase in my life because I never really thought of myself as like being, I don't know, I always kind of had a bad self-image of myself. And I remember thinking that I was like, dude, why is he coming up to me? This dude's like so funny, like he's such a funny guy. Like, why is he coming up and talking to me? Like, why does he think I'm super cool? Like, that's kind of a weird thing. And then it happened with a few other people too. It happened with like John Neeson as well. And I'd be like, why does he think that I'm like a cool guy? Like, he's so much funnier than I am. He's so much. But it's that weird transition. It's that weird, interesting thing that happens when you like get to know somebody who's known for something else, like who's really funny, and that there's almost something that you have to like, there's almost like you have to kind of get through this wall of like getting beyond like, oh, I'm a funny person, or like, I'm a funny, and you get to like, oh, I'm an actual person,
Yeah. Yeah. Funny people consider you one of them, right? Like, that's, I think, what it's all about. And it's funny because you not thinking you fit in with us is a trait of a comedian. 100%.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I don't think I'm a comedian. I don't think I'm. People like talk about, like, oh, you're fine. I don't know. It's hard to believe. I can fake it. I can fake being funny sometimes, but I don't feel like I can turn it off and turn it on. Like, it's more of like there's a certain mode I can get into where I'm sometimes funny, but I don't know. It's like
you
it's weird.
Get into a category for me and my friends that a few other friends do, which is you're really funny, but it's really not ever when you're trying to be. It's when you're just you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've seen you. I have cried laughing so hard. One story that I have of you, I will not ever forget, and it was just so auditory. You were helping me. My car was at Corbin. It's sitting on an incline like this, and you're trying to help me get it up. And it's the e-brake is on, and you're behind, and I wasn't thinking about this at the time, how heavy the car was. But I take the e-brake off, and the car just, and you go, oh my God! And I jump back in the car, which added weight to it, and then I pull the e-brake back up, and I will just never forget accidentally putting you in that situation. But then, like, 6 dudes from your cabin came and helped us push it back, which was like so cool of them. But
my cabin.
yeah, whatever you.
It's actually not it wasn't even my door because I was a commuter, but yeah, just friends of mine.
Yeah.
My cabin mates. It is a little bit like that. Christian college is a little bit like that. It's a little bit kept a little bit of that cabin feel.
Yeah. I just think not everybody would have had that reaction that you had.
No, that's so funny. Yeah. I mean, I definitely get a lot of people to, there's a lot of people who do think I am a funny, like, human.
Right.
But it's not really that I am funny. It's more that I'm a funny human. I mean, actually, I've had a few other people though. Like, there's a friend of mine who always gives me like tons of crap, but he's like, I've finally crossed over from thinking you were like a funny human, like you as a person is fun, like it's like a funny existence.
Yeah.
As to actually being like funny, like you're actually a funny person. It's like there's like this difference of like you're constantly doing these like kind of stupid ridiculous things to actually being a funny person. It's like two different
trains of thought.
Yeah. True ways of thought. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Ways of thought that just happen naturally, but as an outsider watching that, I think it's just it's so amusing. Yeah, I went through like a 3-year span of not seeing you.
Yeah.
And I definitely felt that. I definitely felt, man, David is, but
Yeah.
I do recognize that you were in the midst of a relationship growing with who is now your wife.
Yeah.
And it's cool to kind of let that be, because I'm one to not, honestly, like when a good friend of mine gets a girlfriend, I'm like, man, I don't know. It's I don't think it's jealousy. Okay, I don't think it's strictly jealousy, right? I think that is a factor, but I think it's also I don't care for that attachment. Like the person that they become is just not ever the same. We can be hanging out, just the two of us. I'm not using you. I'm using you as an example. We can just be hanging out, the two of us, and then that dynamic with that significant other is still going to be at play. Activity you're not going to be able to do, things you won't be able to talk about. It's very limiting. And my older brother Casey, I've just enjoyed a lot more when he was single. And that's a selfish thing to say, because it's, who am I to deprive him of a love life, especially the one he has now, which is a beautiful. I love Katie. I love their children, and I'm happy to see that growing and flourishing and just ever changing and improving. So I was glad to not be here when you got a girlfriend.
Yeah.
But the wife thing now doesn't affect, because it's understood. It's marriage. It's she's a part of your business, right? I mean, she's just as involved, which is so cool, and I am stoked to see your guys' relationship established and growing, to hear updates, whatever you're willing to give me information wise. So definitely.
No, it is an interesting dynamic. Like, I think it's like, there is something about people that I think changes, and but it's like this it's like I think it depends, like if it's a healthy or unhealthy thing. There's two different changes that can happen. Like in some ways I feel more myself than I ever have, but it's different than I was. I definitely feel more, I don't know, like, everyone's like, you don't want to say it completes you, that's like giving, but it kind of does. Like, I'm not saying it completes you, but like, it is harder to, like, when you're so used, especially when someone, because I feel like she really is like my best friend, and there's like there's just this something, and I don't even know if there's any words, but there's something that happens when you're together and you have this relationship and you're completely known by someone, that I think it changes you. I think it's similar in some ways to like how you're changed, like when you like know God, like that, as you know God and and he knows you completely, and as you like, the more you get to know him, you do change. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's almost, you're becoming more your like full self in some ways.
Yeah,
I don't know, but yeah, it's I mean, Olivia's awesome.
for sure.
I love my wife and Nova and my
Yeah.
baby, and it's been super cool because she's in, like, we're part of this company, we're doing this together. She's like less, she's not as like this, like video and all that stuff, and even for me it's like a little bit less than it was, as I still love it though, and I don't know, I'm kind of go like, I don't know how much I want to do it going forward, but I know I want to do it. I'm in a real capacity going forward, but for her, like, she's really good at it. She's actually better at it in a lot of ways than me. But I think her real passion is elsewhere, and is more actually like, but it's really cool when she does get excited about a project. Like, she's been about this documentary a lot, and you're kind of like, oh, you're like really excited about this again. Like, that's super cool. But a lot of her passion is more like being a mother, and yeah.
Definitely.
So
Yeah. And that is the type of um, partner team that I would love to have going into film. I think that would be crazy. The woman that I would love to find would possibly need to be skilled. It would be incredible if she was skilled in like producing and not like producing skills that would apply to film. Applying to film, I think it would grow, which is great because you and Olivia, um, her training might not have been in film, right? It was
well, in some ways she's better at it than me. So like, she's a better filmer than me. I've maybe outpaced her a little bit in that category, but she definitely was better at cinematography than me to begin
wow.
with. And editing wise, she's very good editor, and much better than me, much better than me in editing.
Specifically
Um,
which program. And did it start out as photography?
nope, no,
Really?
no, it was a similar type of thing. So like, I never really did photography. She never really did photography. She just like made videos with her friends
Wow.
growing up, and yeah, so
That's cool. And was
yeah.
this through like a specific film program that Corbin offered?
Yes, it was. But it's not I mean, sorry, Corbin, but it's like, hopefully they've grown it to some degree. I know that one of the main professor there was really good, and is very good. He's not very technically good because that's not really his area of expertise. It's more story.
Yeah.
But I think he's left. So like, the media arts program was a very young program, started when we were there, and I don't really think that was the reason we were really good. I think it helped a little bit with like story and things. I think the reason we grew is actually we started a film club on at Corbin called Cine Club, and we did like short films and stuff like that, and that's where I think we actually had a lot more of the ability. We actually met on a video project she was doing for one of her classes, for ATC, for American Thought and Culture, and that's when we met. Was
Wow.
doing that, and we basically went through the whole history of America. It's bad. It's a very bad video.
Oh, really?
It's called America is Russia.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Very good. Yeah, it's historically very sound. It's really good.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you guys met on a film. Do you remember specifically meeting?
Oh yeah, I do. I do
Really?
remember. I remember the first time I saw her. Actually,
Really?
I was dating someone else,
Okay.
but it was a long distance relationship. She great person. She is now married to someone else, which is great. I'm always rooting for that. You know, like, if you have a relationship with someone that doesn't go well, you're like, oh man, I really hope they find,
Right.
happiness and all of that. But I remember seeing her the first time, and I entered the first stage of like suppressed feelings for her. But I remember the first time I saw her, I did think she was incredibly beautiful. And I remember thinking, actually, the first time that I saw her, I was like, oh, that's the girl in that dream I had. when I was like 9.
Interesting.
And there's always been this dream. There was this dream I had when I don't know, I think I was like 12. I don't know. I was younger. And I remember in that dream, there was this girl that I always thought was like, and in the dream, you know, it was like somebody that I was like, I finally had met someone, you know. And in that dream, I always remember thinking, I was like, that was kind of who I thought like was the most beautiful of a person, you know, like just, you know, and she looked very similar, very similar. And yeah, it was pretty cool. And then we just started talking. She actually liked me right away, which is crazy. She liked me for like months while I was dating someone else. And even while I was like really trying to stay up, like kind of, I was involved in the video, but I tried not to be involved that much because I was like, okay, I gotta like keep this in check. And yeah, so she liked me for a long time, and then she found out I had a girlfriend, so she tried to stop liking me, and then like a few weeks later, I broke up, and then started pursuing her pretty quickly after that. I was like, so yeah.
Wow, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know that I had heard all that before.
Yeah, and I don't know if you had. I don't think you've ever heard the story. I was like, it was really cool too. We like, yeah, once we started hanging out, we like, it was like the week after I'd broken up. That's when we basically had this, we met, we like started talking about music. We had like very similar tastes in music, and we just had this like 5-hour conversation in the library. And I remember like going to the urinal in the middle of the conversation. I had to go to the bathroom, and I was just like in the bathroom, and I was like, this is happening. I'm like, this girl is like, this is the person. Like, it was like, and I remember like thinking in that moment, I was like, you know how they say, when you know, like it's that type of thing. And there's like, it was on like a different level of like, it just felt like we knew each other for like, you know,
For a long time.
for a long time.
For sure.
And we both like wrote songs and did music. And so we would like, you know, do that. I wrote her a song pretty early on that.
Oh, wow.
So we waited to like date for like a few months because I didn't want to like rush into another something else, but we definitely like liked each other and talked like every day. So yep.
That's cool.
That's the story.
That's really cool. I'm trying to be a better listener this year.
Yeah. That was a little long.
No, this podcast is really allowing me for me to do that. I'm doing this podcast for like 26 and a half different reasons. And one of them is to be a better listener and to reconnect with my friends, because you are a contact I personally and professionally do not want to lose.
Yeah.
And it's so good to be back here in Salem with you. And I'm perfectly capable of respecting familial boundaries that you have with your wife and kid and your guys' necessary time, your own work and income. But I do enjoy my David time.
No, it's been awesome. It's been awesome like having you back. I mean, it's been this crazy like it was one of those things where like, you know, you do go, and I regret definitely not like reaching out more and having contact with you more. And it was one of those situations where you kind of wondered, you know, like, would we reconnect, you know? And then even after you'd moved back for a while, it took some time to like actually reconnect. And I remember meeting up for like the first time, and it was awesome. It was like, you know, there's like friendships that, you know, you know, it's almost similar to how you have like, you know, when you know, like when you meet somebody, there's something that happens sometimes with friendships, you know, like where you can be apart for a really long time and you get back together and it's just like, you know, it clicks. And even though you've changed a little bit, both of you, there's still like that thing that made you friends, you know, and that's so cool. And I went to one of my friends' weddings up in Seattle, and I hadn't seen him in like years, and I haven't seen him since. but it was like the same thing. Like even if it was just for like a few minutes, like an hour, you know, it was like, wow, like crazy. You can like not see someone for 3 years, you know, and then you can not see them again. And it's just when you're together, there's just this bond, and it's just like you're picking up where you left off, and it's super cool.
Yeah.
It's frustrating because you're like, this could be an opportunity for like independent filmmakers and for like new voices, you know, because I think so much of traditional production is going to be like kind of hard to do for a long time, even especially because they're in California too, and California is having pretty strict. I see there being like an opportunity, but it's gonna suck, you know, like if these art house theaters, these like, I love San Jose, like these places that are like the like like where film is actually still happening. Like if those places close down, man, and independent companies start closing, that'll really suck.
The people who are least willing to give money are the richest.
Yeah.
Even with my finances right now, I want to extend an offer to Salem Cinema of how much to keep you guys afloat, how much to keep you guys.
Yeah.
And I wish that I could. I wish I could extend my hand out to people and lift and hold them up and lift them up. And this is also my reasoning for reaching out to people in this quarantine with this podcast, is to encourage, not to be sitting around on their ass, because I did too much of that in the quarantine. And then I started getting stuff working and getting stuff released, and then I had to go back to work. And now that's really, now I wish that I could work on that stuff, and I'm so behind. So that's why I've done 3 podcasts yesterday. I was supposed to have 3 done today, but it only turned into 1, which I'm okay with. And I have 4 next week. So, well, what's happened with you and your business? Didn't you apply for a grant or a loan?
Yeah. So we got the PPP, the payroll protection program.
Yes.
Which did McMinimans get that too? Because
yes,
is that why they're opened up? I feel
they
like
have to hire more people back this week, or else they have to like give money back and stuff.
Yeah. It's like, well, apparently if they don't hire, if you get, and that's the thing about unemployment too, is like if you get, people say it like it disincentivizes you to work, but if you worked at a place and then they try to hire you back and you don't go back, then you lose your unemployment.
Yes.
Because then it's like you basically quit. That's what I heard.
Why they offered me work and I could not say no.
Yeah.
I have to.
I have to say yes.
There are employees, there are other cooks who they went to first who did say no for reasons that it's like, oh, I have asthma, can't come to work, or I live with a high-risk person. Okay. I mean, sure. I guess on paper that works, so go ahead. You know?
I just really don't want to work.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And no, that's kind of for us. We're just kind of like, for this documentary, we're like, you know, in order to get on Netflix or Hulu, you kind of have to know the right people and like the right agents or the right.
Amazon Prime.
Yes.
That is accessible. You can
do. But they pay 1 cent an hour that it's watched. It's pretty low. So I've been debating, this is a good idea. I've been debating whether to go on like the like video on demand type of stuff. So like Vimeo on demand, stuff like that, where you actually, they purchase it, or going on Amazon Prime. It's all about, for me, it's like all about whether you're about building an audience primarily, or like also trying to make money off this specific project, you know, and how do you balance those two things? Because you can also build like a following on Facebook, like or YouTube, or whatever your channel is that you decide to kind of go all in on. It's just, you aren't going to necessarily be making money from that. So you just have to decide like, okay, is this about primarily making money, or is it, can I do a mixture, or is it primarily about building the audience that you can later, you know, have this audience that you built?
True.
is super valuable down the line, obviously, like, be able to share that with. But I mean, you have an audience on TikTok. I mean, that's like, I was about to say, man, I gotta get my documentary plugged on TikTok with Colin. I mean, he's about the most famous person I know. You know? Like,
yeah, because TikTok, my YouTube is on the TikTok, so
really,
this will be on YouTube. And I would love to grab Skyline and throw it in. I wasn't searching for your name. I know your name, but Skyline. Either I was thinking like Vimeo or the Facebook one.
Yeah.
Send me anything you want plugged, and I'll throw it in the bio.
Awesome. And I think we're going to be launching it. So it's going to be under Skyline. I think we're going to be launching it actually under kind of we're getting that finalized. We're trying to get our LLC finalized. We're actually trying to basically start a entertainment side of the company. That's more, so because Skyline is so business to business, like it's so much about marketing other businesses and stuff, we kind of want to start like a part of the company that's more entertainment, right? It's more entertainment content and stuff like that. And so we're thinking about calling it like Front Porch Media Company or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
So something along those lines. Front Porch Media Co.
So like a branch or
yeah, it's like a branch of the company kind of. It is its own LLC. Partially because it is an LLC and not a. The problem is our company right now is like a S corp, and that's not quite as friendly for like doing entertainment stuff. And so there's all these like, you know, legal ins and outs. And so we'll probably do like a separate LLC for it.
Sure.
But it'll be connected. I mean, it's connected to the company, but anyway, that being said, but that's kind of where a lot of our like entertainment type of content will be in. So yeah, dude, I would love if you wanted to plug some of our stuff for the documentary coming up in particular. I mean, yeah, we're looking for like influencers and people that you know, who are interested and excited about it. And I think it's gonna be a pretty cool project. So
why see each other as competitors? You know?
Exactly. Yeah, I think there's so much that what was it I saw? Actually, I don't think we're competitors at all. Like
No.
I think there is a thing called cooperative. It's my like cooperative competition. That's what I heard. It's like it's how the NFL kind of works.
Okay.
So like the NFL works within like a really intense like sharing system, because they know that when everyone does better, like if every team is doing better, instead of like there just being this one team that dominates, if anybody can win on any given Sunday, everyone loves the sport more.
Yeah.
So everyone makes more money. And really, I do see this is kind of like my trust busting, like anti-monopoly type of thing. I do actually see enemies. Like I see people as like, I really do see as like that actually being the enemy and not being the competitor. And the people I see as that are like, and obviously I don't want to like overstate. There are people, obviously great people who work there. There's incredible, tons of people that they support, like economically, all of that. But I see as like independent filmmakers or independent producers as being basically on one team. And then there's, you know, the 5 corporations on the other side, you know, and there is like a little bit more, I think, a willingness to be a little bit more fervent in competition when it comes to those, if that makes sense. Like, because there's a difference. I don't know.
I think there is.
Yeah. Not that you have to be mean or actually like wanting them to die. Like that's not what I mean. I just mean like I'm willing to be a little bit more like ferocious or whatever. I don't have any ability to be ferocious against that. But like when it comes to people who are like
about your approach, about your attack, about your break into the medium.
Yeah.
You have to be ferocious about that and kind of cutthroat if you want to.
Yeah, well, and what I mean is like, it's just saying this is all about, and I actually believe our company is about this. I believe what we're doing is about this thing. What I think the important thing is like, if the best creators, okay, and the best people who were making the best content that people were watching were not part of that, right? It's this gatekeeper mentality that is so frustrating, because there's some need for it, right? You can't just have, but like, there's incredible content, incredible movies, incredible thing being made, not there. And the reason they create themselves as the gatekeepers is to keep the money there, right? It's not really about, and I mean, come on, like it's not about the best idea. It's about what's going to make the most money. I mean, that's what it's about. And a more local, a more decentralized power. I'm always about decentralization of power and spreading the power out, and spreading and like, there's only one reason why Disney is remaking every single one of their animated. Yeah, there's not a better example of that in the world. Like, they're making every single one of their animated films into a feature length, and it's just a money grab, and it's just a way to keep the freaking copyright. That's all it is. Like, it has nothing to do with artistic integrity. It has nothing to do with even making a good story that could make money, as some stories do. But those are the exception. Like, the good movies are the exception. There is more creativity happening in like TV shows and stuff, but like, but especially in film, like the creative good film is the exception, and it's not even, and even those aren't even marketed very well, so very many people can see them. It's mostly just the critics who watch them, and it's kind of just a frustrating situation. And I think with YouTube, I think with a lot of different, there's so many mediums, and there's so many interesting new ways of like getting your videos in front of people and building an audience, and taking the power out of the hands of like 5 corporations. And what's interesting is that when everyone starts this, like when you have like a Disney Plus, and you have like even the decentralization that's happened from Netflix has made it even more possible to do this, because people are like going to more and more different places to find their content. Because you used to be able to find it all on Netflix, but now, anyway, this is just a soapbox I'm on or whatever, but it's just, it's a frustrating thing. I think that the people with the best talent, if those people could really like commit to staying local, and to staying like, hey, I'm going to like do this where I'm at, and we're going to make it work, and I'm going to stick with the people who got me here. There's an ability to build and to grow away from just this like monster almost, that eventually, I don't know, it just, yeah. And there's so many different voices too. I'm sorry, there's like so many different voices you can hear, like instead of one voice and one people that's in one perspective. There's so many different perspectives we can hear from around the country, around the world, where different stories, different people's experiences, and different producers that could say, you can actually say that, like, I don't know. I love when it was like a few weeks ago when you were talking, we were like talking, and you were like, well, man, I just love to like film stuff like this, where we're like, we're just talking on Zoom, right? It's just a conversation, and you're doing it.
I'm doing it.
That's what I love about you. And I think really is the like key of any type of success. It's not about like that you're a success. It's not about like whether people necessarily always watch it or whatever. It's the like, it's doing it. Like, it's just doing it.
Just doing it.
It's like doing it, finishing something, seeing it, and doing it. There's so many people who don't do it, who want to do something and don't do it. And learning to do it is such a cool, awesome thing. So I appreciate this. I love the name too. It's awesome. The F is for Friends.
Definitely.
So
he's a funny comedian.
He is. Yeah.
His podcast is really, I like him on other people's podcasts.
Did you see any of that like weird series on Netflix, the like improv thing?
Yes, Middleditch and Schwartz. Yeah,
Middleditch and Schwartz. What did you think of that?
It was great.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. I thought it was really funny.
Only the first one had me captivated through like the whole thing.
Yeah,
but the other two had their moments that made me laugh.
Yeah. So I felt the first one, I'm like 3/4 the way through, and I felt like it was starting to dip off.
Sure.
I feel like that happens a little bit with improv. Yeah. If you're committed to the same thing for so long.
Yeah. It's like you kind of still on this note.
Yeah. You start to, and then as soon as the actors start to get in like they love it too much, you know. They love their own jokes too much in an improv because they're so happy they came up with them. You kind of see that point in improv shows. And the other problem is, and you know, as an actor, like there's these rules that you see them breaking, and you're like, oh, it isn't actually very funny when you break that rule. Like they start to get angry. Anytime someone starts to yell for extended periods of time,
Yep.
like, you broke that rule. You're not supposed to get angry because we just hit the limit. And now everything else is less funny.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's great.
And then to not yes and things too. Like,
oh yeah,
if somebody says, "Hey, we're on the moon," and you're like, inside a library, I mean, I guess that's kind of yes anding, but if you just like take it from them and switch it or be like, "No, we're not," then that's
yeah. You have to go with it. You can't just be like, "Oh, I wanted to be here."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like it's true. It's interesting when you kind of know some of those rules and then you watch it. You're like, breaking some of them, but you are pretty funny. You are some of it. And that first one was really great. I mean, it was pretty entertaining.
It was.
It's super weird to watch though. I've seen like some, but it is such a different. It's weird to see it filmed like that. Like I've never seen a video. I've never seen like that type of, even in that type of medium. Like I've only ever seen it like live.
Oh,
You know?
oh yeah. You've never watched Whose Line Is It Anyways?
No, actually, I never watched that.
Oh,
A lot of people have watched that. I know.
yeah.
I think I haven't watched it.
That would be the life for me. If I got paid to go and do improv and just play around, dude.
Aren't there's some shows that are part improv though, right? Like
Yeah, there's a lot
like
of movies even that are full improv. Mm-hmm.
yeah, like Curb, isn't Curb Your Enthusiasm pretty
Yeah. Sunny. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia too.
it's pretty improv. Yeah. Yeah. It's cool. I do love that. Who's the dude? Who's the dude in I haven't watched much Curb, but I love that one guy. What's his name? Larry David.
Yeah. Me too.
He's the bomb.
So funny.
He created didn't he like create Seinfeld or something?
Did it? I've talked about him on this podcast before. Just
Really?
I love Larry David I love his mind in Seinfeld, but what Jerry Seinfeld contributed to it, I'm glad is not in Curb.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. But I think Seinfeld's a great show, obviously.
It is. But it's sitcom. It's sitcom-y.
It is sitcom-y, but it's like there's not a sitcom like that. It's like there's something it's just so like I've never seen it. There's never a sitcom so hopeless.
Right.
In a good way. Like I mean the character of what's his gosh, I'm blanking. Is it George?
Costanza.
George Costanza. He is just and I think I'm still like I haven't seen it all, right? So I'm still watching through it kind of for the first time. And so I'm still like in kind of awe of like what it's doing as opposed to everything else I've seen.
Oh wow.
And so I think that's kind of where I'm at with Seinfeld. I was like, it is a very it's just soulless but incredible, you know. There's this I'm sorry, last thing. Seinfeld.
Well, I think with this, I'm going to chop it up a little bit anyways. So any of the topics that I like over the ones
that you don't like. Yeah. It sounds good. So no need to.
Not that I don't like, but
yeah, but you can do that. It's okay.
sure.
Let's cut this like hour. He talked about like the structures in Hollywood. You know? Dude, speaking of comedy, I'm not a very much of a comic, but I do love some comic philosophy. Like there's some really interesting like philosophies on comedy. And like Ricky Gervais is like talks about him a lot. So like his comparison of English, like British humor and American humor is really interesting. Have you seen much of that? Have you heard much of that? Like his like what the difference is and like kind of what
I think so. I've seen all of his specials. I know that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in his specials. I heard this more in like just like a more of a serious like talk that he was having, and you see it in his shows. So there's almost an effort in like Afterlife, which is amazing. Have you seen Afterlife?
First couple episodes. That's all.
Did you like it? Did you like it?
I remember
They used it.
thinking I didn't like his cadence. I didn't like that he just always had a retort for somebody under his breath. He always, I don't know. I
Yeah,
was waiting for that to change, and maybe I didn't stick with it long enough. But did
he
you like
does. He does change in the show. I love it. I love it. It's a great. I think it's fantastic. But and he does. It gets a little old for me too. But he does start to change that at about the right time.
Cool.
I think it's about episode. It's like 5 or. You can watch it in like an evening. It's like a movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like 6 episodes of like 20.
2 seasons.
And yeah, he put out the second. I just started the second season.
Oh.
I haven't watched it yet. But the first season's a pretty complete type of a story. So they almost have to get you. For me, it's just that process of like, do I need to see this? You know, it's almost like they did such a good job on the first season, and it's so like wrapped up that you don't necessarily want it ruined by a second. So I'm still in that phase of like, do I want it? Do I want to try it?
I see what you're saying.
But Ricky, what he's trying to do in those shows is he's trying to combine American like comedy and British comedy pretty interestingly. So and you see this in his other show, his other one that he tried that wasn't, it's the one like where he's at like in the old folks home. Derek, yeah, he tries this in Derek too, but he's trying to take the optimism of like seeing the good in people in American comedy and combine it with the British comedy, which sees like everything as a joke, like, and the joke is actually life itself in Britain. So like that there's this very hopelessness to British humor that's very funny. It's really funny. Like you get those really, it's like what makes it so dry and so like really like thick British comedy. It's like, and it's very much like The Office, the British Office. Is very much that way, right? It's just like these people are stupid and they're stupid, you know, where and compare that with the American Office. This is a really good example. Like the American Office is these people are stupid, but you love them, you know. He's like, but they're people. And even that compared to Seinfeld's in some ways kind of British in its humor. It's pretty, it's pretty like almost postmodern. Not postmodern. It's almost like cynical. It's like super cynical. And David Foster Wallace, he kind of compares these two. David Foster Wallace is this really cool like philosopher, wrote like Infinite Jest and stuff. There's this really great movie with Jason Segel, and the dude from, I always forget his name. Dude from Social Network, grumpy face.
Yep.
Yep.
Like, the end of the tour.
End of the tour. Yeah. Have you seen it?
Filmed in Grand Rapids, where I was living.
Crazy. Did you see it? Did you watch it?
Yes.
Yeah. So that guy, David Foster Wallace.
Yeah.
He's actually a genius. I mean, he's like, he is a genius. Great movie. I love that movie. Kind of an unexpected movie I liked. And he has this whole comparison about how like we're moving, what we find is like we're moving as like The Office and everything comes up. We're moving. He was, I think, before The Office, but he saw that humor was just so empty. Like it was almost like you just had no, and Seinfeld, he like critiques Seinfeld. Like Seinfeld, there's almost this complete hopelessness in it. And you have to realize that eventually, and The Office is kind of this new birth of it, is that there's this hope of friendship and this hope of like humanity that starts to like come back. That really experience and authenticity is important. And that's kind of what, even in like the end of the tour, you kind of see that like authenticity and like being yourself, that those things are matter. And that's what you see in like Afterlife. Like in Afterlife, you're taking a very British style, but you're trying to infuse it with like all these people are kind of dumb, but you love them, right? And it's really interesting because he's starting to he's almost like bringing almost this like American hope, or this American hope in some comedies.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's like American hope, but I'm just saying it's a more American style of comedy.
Sure.
And he's trying to kind of infuse that into some of his like work, and it's super interesting to watch also, because you're like, when you know that and you're like thinking about, okay, this is what his philosophy is, and then you kind of see it played out in a show. And I think I liked it a lot more than Derek, a lot more of a successful like try at it, in my opinion.
Definitely.
But yeah, his tone is, I mean, he's such a jerk in the show. So
yeah,
they say the C word a lot in that show.
Do they?
Very British, very British. Yeah, the second season. Yeah, the second season in particular, man, it's like, it's like, I think I'm like 10 minutes in, and I think it's like on like the 40th time, you know, it's like, I'm not counting, but it's like every word. It's like it's like the only word in America that's just a little like, ooh, you went that far? Ooh, I'm a little uncomfortable with that.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I watched Louis C.K.'s show, Lucky Louie.
Yeah.
On HBO. Only went 2 seasons, but it's a sitcom.
Yeah.
And there's one scene where they say the C word in a span of 3 or 4 minutes. It's they're just discussing the C word, and they say it 40 plus times.
I think he has a comedy bit where he does that, right?
Yeah, I think so.
There's a comedy bit where he just talks about the word and how it's like a weird word. He's like, I think he just starts with it. He's like, let's talk about this word.
Right.
I know you're all uncomfortable.
I just watched his newest special that he put out a month ago.
Oh, yeah.
On his website.
Is it good?
It's great. Yeah, it's funny. He's like darker than ever in this special.
I can imagine.
Dude, you got to be careful, or else you're getting round 2 of the cancellation on your career.
Dude, I mean, he doesn't care anymore. Like, I don't think he cares. I think he's like beyond cancellation.
Yeah,
he's just kind of his like, I mean, what are they going to do to him? They're already like, he's already pretty much blackballed. Mm-hmm. And blacklisted anyway. So no, it's interesting. But anyway, yeah, thanks for chatting, man. I appreciate it. I like your shirt.
Okay. You like my shirt? Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that one in, does that one in Ben still exist?
Yes, it does.
That still exists.
Yeah. I've gone and gotten a whole bundle of movies at once. So
I know. They got some. I actually really liked it. I love the experience of video stores.
I know.
I miss it a lot.
Yeah.
No, dude, we did a video with like of his insurance agent. We did a series of videos called On the Road with Jeff.
Huh.
And we like hooked cameras up to the car and everything like that, and
Sure.
did all that. And one of them was, actually, I think 2 of them we did with him at his shop and stuff. And so it was pretty.
Nice.
It was pretty fun. And
how to shoot cars and all of that. That's a tough.
Oh, dude, I know. Well, we got these like suction stuff. I'm not sure we did it legally, but it's whatever. We just got the suction gear for the car and mounted the Sony on like the hood of the car.
Sure.
And then, yeah, got the hardest thing was just, we don't really have a great remote monitor setup.
Yeah.
So we just kind of had to trust it was a good shot. And so there would be a couple shoots where the whole thing would be out of focus or something. And so you had to like reshoot it. Or you just have to rely on a different, because we had cameras inside the car too. So you can just cut to those cameras or something. So wow. It was cool. I started renting from him after that. I'd go to Kaiser and rent a new movie from him.
Oh.
But then I realized why I don't like video stores, which is then you forget to return them. And yeah. I owe $40. Man. It was only 5 weeks. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, I've read so many.
It's like, dude, I remember when I used to go to the library, like when I was like, I would be scared of going into the library because I had so many fines. Like, and I felt like I was on like the watch list. And he's gonna come in here. He's gonna come up for us.
Yeah. Thank you so much, David Giglio. I will be plugging your work, and I'm so excited to be able to share you with my growing audience.
I've already been like an hour, right? This is pretty.
Yeah, I think that in honor of keeping it an hour, I think bring this to an end. But I can't thank you enough for taking my call and
Yeah.
expressing opinions, catching up with me, allowing me to film you and plug you. That's
Yeah.
weird, but I
No, yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot. I appreciate, being able to talk about my documentary and just sharing. I appreciate it. I also just love talking with you. I mean,
absolutely.